All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros College Football Show. Today, we are back in the lab for our early picks and line movement predictions for Week 4 of the collegiate season. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I'm slowly becoming the #1 fade across the internet when it comes to sports betting. I'm joined, as always, by a guy who should be absolutely buzzing right now. If the football season's ended today, his Pittsburgh Steelers would be #3 seed in the AFC, while his Texas Longhorns would be the #1 seed in the college football playoffs. Scott, bet the total, Bogman. Boggs, how we doing this afternoon? Good to be with you.
Man, I'm doing pretty good for my teams. My picks have been humbling a little bit better this week than last week, but so on a little bit of a climb up. But the first time in 16 years that the Longhorns have been #1 in the AP poll. So super excited about that. Like you said, our Steelers are rolling downhill as well. So weird allegiances for my sports teams because my dad's whole side of the family's from Pittsburgh, and then I grew up in Texas. But and then moved to Arizona for a long chunk of time. But my teams are doing good right now, so I'm at least enjoying that.
16 years ago. I think I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade at that time.
Come on, man.
Vince, I remember.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to the old man. Come on.
I got to take my shots where I can get them. And you're right, Boggs. We do have really a good slate, I feel like, for Week 4 coming up here. 5 top 25 matchups on deck. Excited to break it all down with you. On today's program, we will react to a wild Week 3, talk about some of the rankings movement as well, plus give you a first look at the various college football Week 4 slates. Win or lose, we appreciate everyone who makes Betting Pros a part of their weekly routine. It means a lot to all of us here, as we truly do live and breathe this stuff. So if you're here on the channel, if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button, help support us here. And before we jump in, I did want to remind you, if you want to get a chance to win a free signed Chicago Bears DeAndre Swift jersey, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com, all you have to do is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now, drop a comment below on any of our videos, and that's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. And all right, a lot of movement in the rankings over the weekend, Bogman. Georgia falls to #2 after just barely escaping Kentucky 13-12 Saturday night. Missouri slides all the way down to #7 after beating Boston College by just 6. And #13 K-State is now only behind Utah in the rankings among the Big 12 teams after whacking Arizona 31-7. How was the betting card for you in week #3, and what were the biggest surprises for you as well?
I mean, honestly, the biggest surprise was how well Kentucky played after laying an absolute complete egg against South Carolina. I'm telling you, they looked miserable. So it's clear, still a good roster, but they were looking ahead to Georgia, past South Carolina, which you can't do. I mean, South Carolina should have beat LSU this weekend. So, we got the over on that, which is what I wanted, but that game was so close. Obviously, came down to that call at the end, but I really think that Kentucky bowing up and playing well against Georgia was my biggest surprise of the weekend. I was a little surprised that BC stayed so in with Missouri. It kind of proves to us, because FSU looks bad. FSU looks terrible. So that game that Boston College beat them in, I don't know. It looked like maybe it wasn't going to be that impressive. Memphis, we saw beat FSU this weekend as well. But then on the flip side, where we saw Notre Dame look pathetic and lose to Northern Illinois last week, ooh, good Lord, did they turn on the Jets against Purdue. I thought Purdue was going to be in this game. We had talked about the money line at this point last week. The spread was only 10. I didn't realize that Notre Dame was capable of putting up points like this. There was even talk about how Riley Leonard might have a torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. That obviously was overblown and not reported correctly. So, I don't know. There were a decent amount of changes in the parity that we're seeing in college football. Makes some of these picks a little bit tougher, it seems like, with the transfer portal opening. And then, we also have teams changing their pace. We had teams just completely scrap listening to the whole play through the headphones this year because it's giving the defense too long to line up, and they're not having as much success as if they went with pace. So there's the college football scenery is an ever-changing landscape, and that's what we saw this weekend, as we do every single weekend.
I think that's a great way to put it, man. With the expanded playoff as well, more teams have more to play throughout the season. So I think we'll continue to see that shift here. And just kind of something we got to keep our heads on a swivel, I think, as we move here throughout the season. So I appreciate that recap and the reaction there from Bogman on what we saw in week number 3. Jumping into week number 4 here, the action starts with my kind of game between ranked Big Ten opponents on Friday night. The number 22 ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers will host the 24th ranked Fighting Illini from Illinois. True freshman quarterback. We've talked about him a lot on this program. Dylan Raiola has looked as advertised this season. 3-0 against the spread, including a 28-10 Week 2 victory against Deion Sanders, Colorado in Lincoln. However, Illinois, no slouch themselves. QB Luke Altmaier has been dealing 6 touchdowns for him, no picks on the season. They're 3-0 straight up and against the spread, including a win against a Kansas team that was ranked at one point as well. Still, they haven't played away from Illinois so far this season. The Cornhuskers lead this series 14-6-1 all time, including a 20-7 win on the road last season. Is that enough for you to get behind Matt Rule and the boys as 8.5-point favorites? Or are you attacking the total on this one, Bogman?
Yeah, I think the total will probably open up. So if you like this to be a low-scoring game, even though Altmaier's looked good, the Nebraska defense looked great against Colorado. Now, Colorado is way more one-dimensional than Illinois is, of course. But I don't know. I like this to kind of be a lower-scoring game, so I think I'm going to sit on the total, wait for this to open up, because tickets and cash are split on this as of right now. The tickets are going towards Illinois. The cash is going towards Nebraska. So I don't know how much line movement we're going to get. I would say that line is maybe a little bit too high for me. I'd like it to come down a little bit if I'm going to put some bread on Nebraska, just for the inexperience of Raiola. I do think that this is a good spot for Illinois to be looking ahead, because they do have Penn State next week.
We are, baby.
So that's going to be a tough game for them coming up. So I think I'm on the Nebraska side here. I want to see if that number comes down at all. And I kind of like the under. I like both these teams to run. Both play very good defense as well. We saw that in the Kansas game for Illinois. That game went under. So I kind of like a lower total in this game. And since the money and the tickets are towards the over here, maybe that opens up a little bit. So I'm going to wait and see a total before I bet this game this week.
Yeah, common sense would honestly lead me to also going on the under of this total as well. It's 2 Big Ten teams on a short week. Nebraska 3-0 to the under this season. Illinois 2-1 to the under this season. If looking specifically at the current 43.5-point line that we have, 4 of the 6 games these teams have played this season have gone to the under. This series also 3-0 to the under since 2021. So all signs point towards the under, but Bogman, you're kind of saying, hey, maybe we just wait a little bit and maybe this total actually opens up a little bit and we can maybe even get better value later in the week.
That's what I'm thinking right now, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, let's move to the Saturday noon slate, where 2 ACC teams are on deck. I've currently successfully faded them so far this season. The Clemson Tigers are 1-1, ranked 21st after handling App State 66-20 back in week number 2. They had a bye this past week. But still, does that warrant them being a 16.5-point favorite against NC State at home? This line has moved about 10 points in Clemson's favor since a look-ahead line was posted last week. The Wolfpack have now dropped out of the rankings after failing to cover in 3 straight weeks. That includes in week 3, where they won 30-20 against Louisiana Tech as 24.5-point favorites. NC State has covered and won this matchup outright as 10.5-point dogs 2 of the last 3 seasons. Does that history matter to you, Bogman?
I'm not the biggest into trends. I do kind of like it when we get these closer games. Obviously, I went away from the trend of the Apple Cup being close, and that didn't work out for me. We both know that John Mateer is the man now. Wow, what a great game he had, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but this game is all going to boil down to what is going on with Grayson McCall, the quarterback at NC State, who had to leave the last game, and C.J. Bailey stepped up, and C.J. Bailey played well at the end of that game. But, of course, against Louisiana Tech and against Clemson is a different thing. We saw Clemson turn it on to a different level. Of course, it got smoked by Georgia in week 1, came back and beat the brakes off of App State. And now they're coming off a bye coming in here. They have 2 weeks to prepare for this NC State team. I don't know how you couldn't like Clemson, especially with the questionable nature of the quarterback here for NC State. So, yeah, I think this line is probably going to stay in this realm. The total, I don't really want to mess with because I don't know what NC State's offense is going to look like. So, I think this is probably going to be a Clemson line that opens a little bit, and if you want it, you should get it now.
I think Grayson McCall honestly stinks. I think he stinks, but like
he's got a pop gun arm, but he's accurate and he makes the right decision a lot. So
sure,
that's how he beats you, right? Like he beats the inexperienced teams. I don't think even if he comes back, they're beating Clemson. So
yeah,
but he's their guy. They got him in on a transfer for a reason. So
yep.
I don't think he's going to play anyway, so I don't think it's going to matter. But I'm liking the Tigers here. Don't love it, but I do like it.
Okay. All right. Boggs siding with the Tigers early here in the week. Next, we head to the site of the big noon kickoff, Columbus, Ohio, where the number 3 ranked Buckeyes host Marshall as 39.5-point favorites here. Not only has Ohio State currently have the top-ranked total defense, but they have that prolific offense. We've heard all about them. Will Howard, Junkins, Henderson in the backfield. Jeremiah Smith looks like the next great Ohio State wide receiver. Emeka's back as well. They've outscored opponents here in 2 games, 108-6. Keep in mind, though, these Marshall boys, they're gritty. They're from the backcountry of West Virginia here. They are 1-1, though, after getting blown up by Virginia Tech 31-14 their last time out. And despite these two colleges being just a mere 150 miles apart, they've only played twice in their history. Most recently, 2011, when Ohio State beat the Herd 45-7. Where do you lean here early in the week, and do you expect this line to shift at all, Bogman?
I don't know how much bigger this line can get, right? Because it's already huge at 39.5. So I don't think it's going to shift one way or the other. And if it does, it's going to go towards Marshall because that's too many points. So, but I mean, look, I think maybe laying this many points is too many against a team. I don't really like these huge lines, but I expect this game to look a lot like what we saw from Texas in UTSA. Like, UTSA is a team that can bow up and play against Texas for like at least a half, but they were completely inexperienced. That's what we're getting from this current Marshall team. 118th in returning production overall from last season. Not a lot of experience coming back. They only held the ball for 23 minutes against Virginia Tech. Ohio State's going to be able to do whatever they want against them. So I don't really like this game because the line is so big, but if I am picking a side, I would pick Ohio State to just absolutely roll them.
Okay, and you don't think it can get much bigger, so it doesn't really matter. You don't think when you do jump on Ohio State, if you're going to go in that direction?
I think just wait.
Yeah.
I know yesterday there wasn't even enough ticket information to like put out a percentage or anything on some of the places, and it looks like this morning there still isn't. So people staying away from this gigantic line, I understand it. I do think if it does anything, it's going to sink a little bit to like 37 or something, or 35. It's not going to be
okay.
I don't think it's going to open up to 41 or 43 or anything. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a giant line.
Yeah, I think I'd be more inclined if we could get that closer to 35 or 36. I might jump on, but I mean 40, dude. That's a huge line, even
51 and a half. I'll just take the over and hope that Ohio State does all of it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you there. And before we continue, I want to remind everyone that you should be joining our college football podcast group. You can sync your picks and use our quick pick feature on the Betting Pro sports betting app to get a free chance to win some prizes. You can elevate your betting strategy by joining the conversation today at bettingpros.com/college. All right, shifting to Ann Arbor in the 3:30 p.m. Eastern time slate. We have probably what I am anticipating to be one of the newest, best Big Ten rivalries on display here. The number 18 ranked Wolverines will host Lincoln Riley's number 11 ranked USC Trojans. Michigan quarterback Tyler Warren was benched last week for Alex Orji. Immediately then, Michigan drives down the field for 80 yards and a score. Yet the Wolverines have failed to cover still in 3 straight games. Even if Orji gets the nod here, can you trust them as 6-point dogs against USC, who has covered big in both games this season, including beating LSU outright 27-20 in Las Vegas back in week 1, Bogman?
I don't know how we can trust Michigan right now, specifically on offense. Like, the defense is still very strong, has a lot of good players, so maybe they're going to give Miller Moss and company some issues, right? So maybe this is a lower scoring game than we anticipate, but USC's defense looks very improved. They were decent against LSU. They shut out Utah State, which isn't the biggest accomplishment, but they weren't shutting anybody out
Right.
last year. So that was not something that was going to happen. And I just don't know how we trust Michigan right now. I mean, Colson Loveland, their best player on offense, the tight end, questionable for this game, left last week with an injury. So we're going to see if he is even wheels up. But just Orgy, I don't know if he has enough passing to make this team more than one-dimensional. And again, Michigan, a home dog coming off a national championship. You can tell just how much the scenery can shift in one spot in a season. It's the same thing that we saw from TCU against Georgia, right? They get rolled in the national championship game, and then, the big players graduate. Transfers aren't ready yet, and we get the current TCU team that's back to being a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team. I don't think Michigan is middle of the pack for the Big 10, but I definitely don't think they're a natty contender. So I don't think that this game goes their way. I like USC, even on the road.
This line opened at USC -10, and it's quickly kind of been bet down there. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just a lot of money that is coming in on Michigan, that people are still believing in this blue and gold team?
I don't think so. I think it's because I think most systems are probably showing a slight edge towards Michigan in this game. So maybe you're getting some bets that way. But no, the cash is coming in on USC. So,
okay.
This game, I think it's going to open towards USC, if anything.
Okay. Last time these two teams have met up, too, back in 2006, it was John David Booty who got the best of Chad Henne back then. A little throwback for you. After being fortunate to escape Columbia with a 2-1 record, the 16th-ranked LSU Tigers now are returning to Baton Rouge to host Deshaun Foster's UCLA Bruins. If it weren't for Lenora Sellers getting injured last week for South Carolina, or a cheap shot on Garrett Nussmeier on a return pick 6, LSU probably loses that game, in my opinion. Do you trust them here in this spot as a 22.5-point favorite against UCLA, who they just got handled by Indiana 42-13 at home, and they only beat Hawaii by 3 in Honolulu in the opening week? This line has moved nearly 7 points since this past weekend, Boggs.
Yeah, I'm going to trust LSU here, and I don't, Wow. Let's just say this. It's
Stones.
I hate UCLA. UCLA looks miserable right now. They lost it. Look, Indiana is a good team, right? I picked them to go over their 5.5 win total. I'm holding by that. I think they're a solid team. Signetti has got these boys moving. They went to the Rose Bowl and beat up on UCLA. I think it's half because Indiana is, yes, better than we expected. Signetti has them moving in the right direction. But UCLA sucks. They are not good, man. This is a bad team traveling. And they have Oregon next week. And LSU's got South Alabama coming to town. So we're not in a look-ahead spot. Maybe we're in a letdown spot for LSU coming off the big tightrope win here. Maybe they're going to let their guard down and let UCLA in, right? This is the emotion of college football. So maybe that's it. But just everything that I've seen from UCLA so far gives me absolutely no confidence in them whatsoever. So to me, it's less about LSU and it's more about UCLA. And by the way, almost every single penny is on LSU right now. So I would be moving towards LSU quickly if you want this game, because this line I think is going to open up in their favor.
Shout out to my guy Signetti. That's a cold dive there. He actually was the former head coach of my Division II college football program that I rooted for growing up. The IUP Crimson Hawks. Went there as a journalism major as well. So I got to interview him a few times. He's a very cool guy. So I appreciate that. Shout out to him there. And yeah, it seems like you're back in LSU with the public, with the Sharps here as well here heading into week number 4. Continuing through a stacked afternoon slate, the number 14th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys are now 2.5-point favorites against the 12th ranked Utah Utes coming in here on the road. The Utes have failed to cover in 2-3 games this season, but they are 21st in total defense and are led by quarterback that is an absolute veteran, I think, in the college football space, Cam Rising. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State has covered in 2 of 3, but it took overtime against Arkansas to continue that streak. I was surprised to see Oklahoma State as the favorite in this one. Maybe that's due to the recency bias. We did see Alan Bowman last week throw for almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns against Tulsa. This is a really tough game to handicap, though, Boggs. No history between Utah and Oklahoma State, as Utah is just now coming into the Big 12. Do you see this line moving, and how do you see this game going overall?
Yeah, I mean, this is all going to depend on the health of Cam Rising, right? Like, he had that finger injury 2 weeks ago against Baylor, and Zach Wilson's little brother, came in, and, he looked okay, but I don't know that he's ready for a game of this magnitude. Now, I said that about John Mateer last week, and he shut me up real fast, so I don't want to completely doubt him, but I don't know. Cam Rising has the experience Isaac Wilson doesn't, and this is a huge game, and Oklahoma State really – they were kind of sleepwalking a couple weeks ago against Arkansas.
Yep.
That second half opened them up, and then they continued that roll last week as well. So against Tulsa, put up 45 points. Utah 31-21 over Utah State. I'm just going to tell you, I don't like this game. I think this game is too close.
Agreed.
To call. I really like Utah's defense, but I don't know what we're going to get out of Isaac Wilson if he's the starter. And Alan Bowman is so hit or miss. I'm staying away from this game, and I don't know which direction it's going to move. I can tell you that right now it's just slightly favored towards OK State, so probably because they're at home. But I don't think we're going to get too much flinching one way or the other on this line.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there, man. Sometimes with these big matchups, they're just better to kind of watch from the sidelines here, and I think that might be the case here with Utah and Oklahoma State. If you do want to get invested with Utah, though, plus 130 on the money line, it never hurts to maybe take a little sprinkle there if that's something you are interested in, but might just be a stay away overall here. Boggs is telling us. Into the After Darks slate here in prime time, we have number 8 ranked Miami traveling to Tampa to play the 2-1 South Florida Bulls. I feel like we got in early on Miami this season, but the U hype machine is now in full swing, out of control. They've covered in 3 straight games. They've pushed the total over in 3 straight games as well. Cameron Ward, now the absolute favorite to win the Heisman at plus 550 as well. However, USF, no joke either. They do have a top 50 offense in the nation, covered in 3 straight weeks as well. They have that Konami code quarterback, Byron Brown, that we've kind of talked about. We know he can boot, scoot, and boogie a little bit, averaging 85 rushing yards per game. What number would you have to see to roll with Mario Cristobal's men in this one, and will we see that number this week, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't really currently hate the number right now for Miami, just the way that Miami has played. Now, look, USF bowed up against Alabama, right?
Yep.
2 years in a row they've done it. This game is in Tampa for them and Raymond James, so a home game is nice for them. They're 11th in offensive returning production. They bring back 7 starters.
Wow.
So this is a good team. And I do think that USF in the AAC is closer to Memphis and Tulane, like the good teams in that conference, and they are to the middle and obviously way better than the bottom end of that. But I think Miami is a national title contender. Like, I think they're a contender for the ACC. I think they're a contender for the playoff here. So I think Miami is going to wax them. Maybe I'm just overlooking USF's hype here. I don't hate them, but also, like, I like the over here. Miami has been putting up points.
65, that's a huge number, though.
65? Oh, man, I had it marked way different. So, okay. Yeah, no, that is a huge number. I'll go ahead and stay away from that.
Okay.
I think I had it marked at 55. I must have just punched it in wrong. So I was like, oh, this number's pretty low. Nope, it's not.
Yeah.
So, okay. No, I'll stay away from this, though. But I don't mind a bet on Miami. But like I said, this one is so close. We don't have ticket information on it yet because people are kind of looking at that number, and it makes them feel a little queasy. So I don't know how much movement we're going to get from it.
Yeah, so you're kind of shooting in the dark right now, I feel like, on this one a little bit. If you get it on Miami, it could be a bad number by the weekend, or, you could have a steal on your hands as well. It's kind of tough to tell where the line movement is going to go on this one.
Also, just a little bit of a look-ahead spot because Miami's got Vatek on Friday the next week. So This game, I think the more I talk about it, the more queasy I get. But I do like the Hurricanes.
These teams haven't played since 2013 as well. Miami is 5-1 all time there. I mean, maybe you can throw, a money line parlay together and put Miami, but other than that, I don't think you can really touch this game. Here we go to Norman, Oklahoma, the site of College Game Day for week number 4 of the college football season, where we've got another top 25 matchup between the 15th ranked Sooners and the 6th ranked Volunteers, with Nico at quarterback, Dylan Sampson leading the way in the backfield. They also have a suffocating defense here. Tennessee does, ranked number 2 overall in total defense. The Volunteers, to me, have just been a money-printing machine this season. 3-0 against the spread, 3-0 to the over as well. Meanwhile, Oklahoma is 1-2 against the spread after failing to cover in back-to-back weeks here. Still, though, Jackson Arnold, a pretty good dual-threat quarterback, I feel like, for the college landscape here. And they do have a defense that is ranked 27th in total defense as well. Kind of shocking to see an Oklahoma defense this good. Is that enough for you to get off this ride, though, that is Tennessee and laying the 7 points here?
I mean, I can't pick against Tennessee, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you to take Oklahoma, even at home. But I will say that I don't know. I think that this game is going to be lower scoring than we anticipate, because if Oklahoma has something, it is defense, and they are at home. That's a tough place to play in Norman. So, a little bit of inexperience on Tennessee's offense with Nico, but they did just go on the road and beat NC State by 41. Maybe NC State's not as good as we thought, though, right? Yeah. I think that's kind of the consensus that we had coming out of that. They beat the brakes off of Kent State, 71 points. They're putting up over 700 yards of offense consistently. They look like a strong national title contending team here, does Tennessee. So I would probably take Tennessee. And the points, I don't know that you can trust Oklahoma's offense right now with what we've seen them put up recently. They struggled against Houston, struggled a little bit last week against Tulane. Not much. They were fine. But I just don't know if I trust them to stay point for point with Tennessee right now. So I think maybe this game is a little closer, a little slower paced than we anticipate, because Oklahoma can handle themselves on defense better than anyone that Tennessee has played so far. But I don't know if many defenses in the nation are slowing down Tennessee right now. So I'll take Tennessee. Don't really want to mess with the total.
Do you think 7 is the best number we're going to see for Tennessee all week, or do you think maybe that opens up a little bit?
No, I think it's going to get a little bit bigger. So if you want Tennessee, probably take it now, because just early, and there's been a lot of tickets put on this game for how early it is already. I think it's the most bet game by a pretty wide margin here.
Okay.
USC Michigan has a bunch, but I think it's going to open towards Tennessee.
Let's roll, baby. Rocky Top. I'm back in. They haven't failed me once this season. I think I'll continue to ride that. And we're back to the Big Ten here with 2 unranked 2-1 programs. Iowa is going to be laying 2.5 points on Minnesota currently, but this line has been bet down since opening. Iowa was originally favored by 4, probably because Minnesota just blew out Nevada 27-0 in the Twin Cities. Minnesota also 2-1 against the spread this season, and we're just a missed field goal away in the opener against UNC away from being undefeated as well. Where do we expect this line to continue to move?
I mean, I think the over is getting a lot of bets, which is surprising for this game. It's just so low. It's 36.5, right? So I think we're moving towards that, and it's mainly because we saw Troy put up some points against Iowa. Iowa is not as impervious as previously thought. But with that being said, I think these are 2 run-heavy teams that are going to run a lot. So I'm not really messing with this game. I think the game line is close enough to where I don't see a great side one way or the other. The over is the play now, but that's probably going to open up a little bit, like we said, with the over being bet up a lot recently. And Minnesota's defense looks good, too. I mean, they just shut out Nevada. Nevada, not the biggest accomplishment, but they look improved. They put up 24 on SMU, 26 on Troy, 498 yards against Georgia Southern. So, I think what Minnesota did was pretty impressive last week with their defense, and Iowa didn't look as impressive. So could be, we want to look aheads early in the season here, and Minnesota's got Michigan next week. Iowa's on a bye. So, I don't know. Iowa may be a little less distracted, but they are on the road. This is going to be a nice, fun game that boils down to the end. I wonder what our boy Thor is thinking right now, his two squads here. But, I think I'm probably going to stay away. This game is going to be too close for me to really like it.
Yeah, I agree. The trend's kind of pointing that direction as well. Minnesota did win this matchup last year, 12-10 in Iowa City, but the year before, Iowa won on the road in Minneapolis, 13-10. So low scoring is kind of the trend here, but also close, tight games. It's kind of what we expect for some of these Big Ten rivals. And before that game when Iowa did go in and or before Minnesota did go in and win last season, they lost 9 straight times. So just something to keep in mind there. Let's shift to the Big 12 now, where we have a toss-up between Baylor, who's traveling to Boulder to face the Colorado Buffaloes. Primetime guys responded last week in very great fashion after getting blown out by Nebraska in Week 2. They beat in-state rival Colorado State 28-9. Shedeur threw 4 touchdowns. Travis Hunter went for 13, 102. Also had a pick on the other side of the ball. He was a monster out there. Still, the Buffs are just 1-2 against the spread this season and 3-0 to the under. Baylor has covered in 3 straight, but they now have a QB controversy on their hands. Dual threat quarterback DeQuan Finn, he won the job out of camp. Kind of looked pretty solid through 2 weeks. However, we did see Sawyer Robertson, who started last week. He looked decent, led Baylor to a big win over Air Force, 31-3. Now they're listed as co-starters. Does that keep you away from laying the 1.5 points with Baylor here? And do you think the public will move this line towards Colorado later in the week?
I mean, I do think that, Colorado is going to be bet up because they just always are. But right now, we're trending towards Baylor. And it's because I think people are seeing Colorado as the frauds that they may be. Colorado State just is not a good team.
They laid over.
Yeah, beating them is not the biggest accomplishment. I mean, I watched them against Texas this year, too, and I'd say the same thing for Texas. It's not a big accomplishment to beat Colorado State. Air Force, the same way for Baylor, right? Air Force was bad. They got smoked by San Jose State in transition with a new coach and a new offense and all that stuff. So Air Force is not a good win either. So unimpressive wins both these teams are coming off of. Although wins, we'll take them, of course. Mm-hmm. But I just think that this Baylor team has a lot of experience. It's a tough road game. I think in roster strength, I would definitely be going towards Colorado. They do have the better overall players, but they have shown this season to not be able to do much with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm on the Baylor side here. I'm rolling with the public in this one, and I think if you want it, get it early because it might be a pick. It might be a Baylor favor by the end of the week the way the money is trending. So I just think that Colorado, for all the positive attention you give them, when they look bad, it becomes bad attention.
Yeah.
So they look terrible against Nebraska, and no one was watching them against Colorado State, or at least, I shouldn't say no one, but way fewer people than have been on the Colorado hype train after a big loss to Nebraska were watching that game. So, the last taste for most people was seeing them just get absolutely waxed by Nebraska. So I think that's what we're seeing here. Baylor is an experienced team. They went in and made it tough against Utah, knocked their quarterback out of the game. That defense is dangerous. So I like Baylor in this game right now. So does the public. And if you want Baylor and you want to root against Colorado, get it early.
As you said, people are kind of coming off that hype train. My 76-year-old grandfather texted me after week 1 and said, "What do you think about Deion's guys? You think they could go?" I didn't think he was a big college football fan, but apparently Deion's captivated him enough. I haven't heard from Pop since. I haven't heard from Pap. So I think he probably saw them got whacked by Nebraska and got off that hype train. But, just kind of one example of that hype kind of leaving the station.
They're exciting. There. They got a lot of star power. They do, and especially, at the top with Deion. But I don't know, man. It's not all working the right way.
Hopefully next year for you, Grandpa. Let's round out the program with the nightcap. Number 13, Kansas State on the road laying 7 points against BYU. I learned my lesson last week about fading Avery Johnson and Kansas State in any capacity. Those golden locks are luscious, and they lit up Arizona last week in a top 25 matchup. beating them 31-7. However, they are still just 1-2 against the spread, K-State is. And we've also talked about Utah being a very difficult place to play down there. And the Cougars have looked very excellent this season, 3-0 against the spread, including an impressive win at SMU in week 2 as nearly 3-1 underdogs as well. I think I want to get invested in the Wildcats here, make up for my wrongdoings last week. Is that the right move, you think, Bogman? And do you think I can get maybe a better number later in the week?
It feels like a trap. They look so good against Arizona that this feels very, very trappy because BYU's look good. They beat SMU. They've been playing hard. Smoked Wyoming on the road at elevation. Wyoming's a tough place to play. Wyoming might be really bad, though. So, maybe not a very impressive victory. But, I see like Arizona State, who just beat Texas State, which surprised me. That game was crazy all the way down on the wire. But I think them and BYU kind of disrespected in the preseason. We didn't really give them a chance to do much, lower in their conference, lower in their rankings, everything. And they have proven to be way more than what we expected.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect letdown spot for Kansas State, right? You're on the road after a huge home win against a ranked opponent. You overcame Tulane 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
You've looked really good. Now you're on the road in a tough environment, and you got Oklahoma State next week. So maybe a little bit of a look ahead as well. Maybe this business trip is a little more, vacation and not as much business for Kansas State. Now, look, they look great, so it's hard to pick against them. I just think that I'm going to watch this game because I've learned my lesson on K-State. They lost me money last week, and I don't know if I want to buy into them again. So I think this line, as it stands right now, I believe it is, big in K-State's favor. So not huge, but it is leaning majority towards K-State, both tickets and cash. So if you want K-State, probably get this number early because it's going to open up because of the perceived issues that we saw with BYU. They're playing much better than what we thought coming in. I don't know if it's good enough, though.
Boggs, I appreciate your insight today, man. And we will not be taking a vacation as we're back right here on Wednesday and Thursday with our guy Terrell for our picks and predictions show. Until then, like this video if you enjoyed it. Let us know how the Betting Pros College Football Show hits for you this week. Subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and podcast feed. Plus, download the Betting Pros app. Sync those sports books today. And for Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thanks for watching, y'all. Take care.